Let me say something that might hit a little hard. You're not stuck. You just lack discipline. And before you close this episode, before you tell yourself, I don't understand your situation, I need you to know something. I had to accept that about myself too. I had to look in the mirror and admit that the reason my life wasn't changing wasn't because of my circumstances. It was because of my choices. And that realization, it changed everything. Welcome back to the podcast. If you're new here, welcome. You picked a good episode to start with because what we are about to talk about is something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. It's uncomfortable, it's confronting, but it's also the truth that changes everything. Today, we're talking about discipline, not the kind you read about in self help books that makes it sound like you need to wake up at 4 a.m. and run a marathon. I'm talking about real discipline, the kind that separates the people who talk about change from the people who actually do it. So if you've been feeling stuck lately, if you've been wondering why nothing's moving forward, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. I want to take you back to a version of me that I'm not particularly proud of. There was a moment in my life, honestly, it lasted years, where I kept saying the same things over and over. I don't have time. I'll start next week. I just need to figure out things first and then make a change. Once things settle down, then I'll focus on my goals. If this sounds familiar, and here's the thing, I genuinely believed those excuses. I thought they were valid reasons, but the truth, I was avoiding doing the hard things. Because let's be honest with each other right now, scrolling is easier, watching another episode is easier, staying comfortable is easier, staying exactly where you are, even if you hate it, it's easier than doing the work to change. I would spend hours, and when I say hours, I really mean hours on social media, telling myself I was researching or getting inspired, getting educated, but I wasn't creating anything. I wasn't building anything. I was consuming, endlessly consuming. And then I would just wonder why my life looked exactly the same 6 months later. I'd look at people who were doing what I wanted to do, and I tell myself they were lucky. They had more time, they had more resources, they had something I didn't have. But that wasn't the truth. What they had was discipline, and I didn't. Let me tell you about the moment everything shifted for me. It was a Tuesday night. I remember because Tuesdays were always my I'll start fresh tomorrow day. You know that feeling, like Monday's already ruined. So Tuesday becomes the new Monday. I was sitting on my couch, phone in the hand, scrolling through Instagram at 11:47 p.m. and I saw a post from someone I went to college with. They had just launched their business, something they had been talking about for maybe 3 months. 3 months. And I had been planning to start my thing for 2 years. 2 years. I felt this wave of shame wash over me. Not jealousy, shame. Because in that moment, I realized something. The only difference between me and them wasn't talent. It wasn't connections. It wasn't luck. It was that they did the work and I didn't. I closed Instagram and I made a decision right there. I was going to commit to one thing, just one thing for 30 days. no excuses, no I will start Monday, no waiting until I felt ready. I chose to write 500 words every single day. It didn't matter what it was about. It didn't matter if it was good. Just 500 words. Why writing? Because it was the thing I kept saying I wanted to do but never did. I had a notes app full of ideas, but zero finished pieces. So that night, at 11:52 p.m., I wrote my first 500 words. It was terrible, rambling, pointless, but I did it. Day 2 was harder than I expected. I sat down to write, and suddenly, I had a million other things I needed to do first. Check email, organize my desk, make another coffee, and this was the classic avoidance. But I caught myself, and I wrote that 500 words. By day 5, I almost quit. I was tired. The words felt forced, and I started asking myself, what's the point? Nobody's gonna even read this. But I had made a commitment to myself, and I decided that keeping that commitment mattered more than how I felt at that moment. Days 6 and 7 were a grind, pure discipline, no motivation, just showing up because I said I would show up. Then something interesting happened around day 10. It got easier. Not easy, but easier. And I started sitting down to write, and the resistance wasn't that strong. My brain stopped fighting me as much. By day 14, I noticed something else. I was getting ideas throughout the day. My brain was actively thinking about what I wanted to write later. It was like I had activated some part of my mind that had been just put on break, put on hold. Day 20, I wrote something I was actually proud of, something that felt real and honest and good. And here's what nobody tells you about discipline: the wins aren't always obvious at first. But by day 30, when I looked back, I had 15,000 words. Some of it was garbage, but some of it was the foundation for the content I'm creating now. More importantly, I had proven something to myself. I could do what I said I would do, and that changed how I saw myself. I wasn't someone who wanted to create anymore. I was someone who created. And that identity shift, that's what discipline gives you. But here's where it gets really interesting. That one small discipline, writing 500 words a day, started rippling into other areas of my life. I started waking up earlier because I wanted to write before work, which meant I started going to bed earlier, which meant I stopped scrolling at night. I started eating better because I had more energy and mental clarity. I started showing up differently in conversations because I was thinking more clearly. And one habit led to another habit, and another habit, and another habit. And that's how we create positive changes in our lives. And not because I was trying to overhaul my entire life, but because I proved to myself that I could be disciplined in one area, and that confidence spread. That's when I understood discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about doing what you said you would do, even when nobody's watching, even when you don't feel like it. So let's talk about discipline actually and what actually discipline is. Because I think most people have the wrong idea. They think discipline means waking up at 5 a.m., cold showers, never eating desserts, working 80 hours a week. That's not discipline, that's punishment. Real discipline is simpler. It's doing what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it. That's it. It's keeping the small promises you make to yourself. And here's what most people get wrong. They're waiting to feel ready. They're waiting to feel motivated. They're waiting to feel confident. But here's the truth. You don't become confident first and then take action. You take action and then confidence follows. Let me say that again because it's important. Action creates confidence, not the other way around. Think about it. You don't feel confident about going to the gym until you've been going consistently for a few weeks. You don't feel confident about creating content until you've posted consistently and seen that the world doesn't end. You don't feel confident about starting a business until you've taken the first scary steps and realized you can figure things out. Confidence is a result. So if you're sitting around waiting to feel ready, you're going to be waiting forever. Because ready is a feeling that comes after you start, not before. And here's the real example. Let's say you want to get in shape. Most people wait until they feel motivated. They wait for Monday, they wait for the new year, they wait until they have the perfect plan, the perfect gym membership, the perfect workout clothes, and they never start. But the person who actually gets in shape, they start on the random Wednesday. They go for a walk even though they don't feel like it. They do 10 push-ups even though it feels awkward and hard. And they do again and again and the next day and the next day. Not because they're motivated, but because they're disciplined. And after 2 weeks of showing up, something shifts. They start to feel stronger. They start to feel capable. They start to feel confident. The action created the feeling, not the other way around. And this applies to everything. Want to be a better communicator? Start having uncomfortable conversations. Want to build a business? Start before you feel ready. Want to create content? Post before it's perfect. The doing comes first. The feeling comes second. And discipline is what bridges the gap. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, I get it, but I really am stuck, let me challenge you on something. If you feel stuck right now, look at your daily actions, not your intentions, not your goals, not what you wish you were doing, your actual actions. Because here's the reality. Your life right now is a direct result of three things: what you tolerate, what you repeat, and what you avoid. Let's break that down. What you tolerate. Are you tolerating bad habits? Are you hitting snooze 5 times every morning? Scrolling for hours every night? Eating food that makes you feel like garbage? Are you tolerating negative relationships? People who drain your energy? People who don't support your growth? People who keep you small? Are you tolerating a job you hate? A living situation that depresses you? A version of yourself that you know isn't who you're capable of being? Whatever you tolerate, you're choosing, and that's hard to hear, but it's true. What you repeat, what are you doing every single day? Because your daily actions are creating your future. If you're scrolling for 3 hours a day, you're building a future of distraction. If you're complaining for 3 hours a day, you're building a future of negativity. If you're consuming content but never creating, you're building a future of passivity. But if you're learning something new every day, you're building a future of growth. If you're creating something every day, you're building a future of impact. If you're moving your body every day, you're building a future of health and energy. Your repeated actions are not neutral. They're either building the life you want or the life you don't. What do you avoid? This is the big one. What are you avoiding right now? The hard conversation, the scary decision, the uncomfortable growth? Most people avoid the exact things that would change their life. They avoid starting because they're afraid of failing. They avoid putting themselves out because they're afraid of judgment. They avoid doing the hard work because it's hard. But here's what I've learned: the things you are avoiding are usually the things you most need to do. That discomfort you feel, that's not a stop sign. That's a sign you're about to grow. So let me bring this all together. Discipline is freedom. I know that sounds strange, maybe harsh, and people think discipline is restrictive, like you're putting yourself in a cage. But it's the opposite. When you control your actions, you control your future. When you're disciplined with your time, you have more freedom to do what matters. When you're disciplined with your money, you have more freedom to make choices. When you're disciplined with your health, you have more freedom to live fully. Discipline isn't a cage. Lack of discipline is the cage. Let me give you two examples of how this plays out. The first person is George. Wakes up whenever they feel like it, scrolls on their phone for an hour, eats whatever is convenient, works just enough to get by, spends their evenings watching TV and scrolling, goes to bed late, and repeats. In 5 years, where is George? Probably in exact same place, maybe worse, and wondering why life feels so stuck. The next person is Melissa. Wakes up at the same time every day, moves their body for 30 minutes, eats intentionally, works on their goals for at least an hour, creates something, learns something, connects with people who inspire them, goes to bed at a reasonable time, and repeats. In 5 years, where's Melissa? Completely transformed, different body, different mindset, different opportunities, different life, same 24 hours, different choices, and that's the power of discipline. It's not about one big decision. It's about 1,000 small decisions repeated over time, over and over again. And those small decisions, they compound. All right, let's make this practical because I don't want you to just listen to this episode and feel inspired for 10 minutes, maybe 15, and then go back to your regular life. I want you to actually do something. So here's your challenge: pick one thing, just one, and commit to doing it every single day for the next 7 days. Not 30, not a year, not 7 years. That's it. Just 7 days. Because 7 days is doable. 7 days doesn't feel overwhelming. 7 days is enough to prove to yourself that you can be disciplined. And once you prove it for 7 days, you can do it for 30, then 90, then forever. But start with 7. And here are some examples: a 10-minute morning walk, not a run, not an intense workout, just a walk. Get outside, move your body, clear your head. Read 5 pages of a book. Not a chapter, not the whole book, 5 pages. That's maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10. But if you do that every day for a year, that's 1,825 pages. That's like 6 to 8 books. Imagine how much you'd learn. Post one piece of content, a photo, a thought, a video. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. Doesn't matter if anyone sees it. Just create and share. Build the muscle of putting yourself out there. Meditate for 10 minutes. Sit in silence. Focus on your breath. Train your mind to be present. This one discipline will change how you show up in every other area of your life. Write 250 words. Journal. Brain dump. Write about your day. Write about your goals. Write about nothing. Just write. Clarity comes through writing. Learn one new thing. Watch a 10-minute educational video. Listen to a podcast episode. Read an article. Commit to growing your mind every single day. Just pick one, just one. And here's the key. Pick something you've been avoiding. Pick something that feels slightly uncomfortable. Because that's where the growth is. Don't pick something you're already doing. That's not a challenge. Pick something that will require discipline. And then do it. Every day for 7 days. No excuses. No, I'll start tomorrow. No, I'm too busy. You have time for 10 minutes. You have time for 5 pages. You have time for 250 words. You're just choosing to spend that time on other things. So choose differently. And here's what's going to happen. The first 2 days, you'll feel motivated. This is exciting. You're making a change. Days 3 and 4, the novelty wears off. You will want to skip. You have a reason why today doesn't count. Do it anyway. Days 5 and 6, you'll start to feel the momentum. You realize you're actually doing this. Day 7, you'll feel proud. You have proven something to yourself. And that proof, that's what builds unshakable confidence. So right now, before you move on with your day, decide. What's your one thing? Say it out loud. Write it down. Tell someone. Make it real. And then do it, starting today. Let me leave you with this. You don't need a new plan. You don't need more information. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You need stronger execution. That's it. You need to do what you already know you should be doing. Because the gap between where you are and where you want to be, it's not a knowledge gap. It's a discipline gap. You know what to do. You're just not doing it. And I'm not saying that to make you feel bad. I'm saying it to wake you up. Because you're capable of so much more than you're currently doing. You're capable of building the life you actually want. You're capable of becoming the person you know you can be. But it starts with discipline. It starts with doing what you said you will do, even when it's hard. Even when you don't feel like it. Even when nobody's watching. That's the superpower nobody talks about. No talent, no luck, no connection, just discipline. The ability to control your actions, even when your feelings are telling you to quit. And here's the beautiful thing, discipline is a skill. It's not something you're born with, it's something you built. One decision at a time, one day at a time, one small promise kept at a time. So if this episode hits you, if you felt that uncomfortable truth land in your chest, good. That means you're ready. So do me a favor. Follow this podcast. Share with someone who needs to hear this. Someone who's stuck. Someone who's making excuses. Someone who's waiting to feel ready. Send them this episode and then commit to your 7-day challenge. Because we're building something real here. We're building a community of people who are done taking and waiting and just talking about the moment that they'll feel ready. People who understand that discipline isn't restrictive, it's liberating. People who are willing to do the hard things now so they can live the life they want later. And I want you to be part of that. So take the challenge, do the work, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, stop waiting, start doing. You're not stuck, you're just not disciplined. And now you know what to do about it. Let's go.